Oklahoma City police tweeted out that on May 8th there was an officer involved shooting. Um, from the video, and again, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but basically they find a man who is um, in his front yard. I'm not sure what he was doing, but the short of it is that a struggle ensues and the police officer ends up shooting and killing the man. This is obviously a frequently recurring thing in Oklahoma City. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. I'm not sure, I'm really struggling with this one because I don't know what it will take to convince people that this is incredibly fucked up. Because if you go on this YouTube video, I mean, the comments are, well, should have listened, should have done this. And it's just like, I mean, there are hundreds of these incidents, thousands of these incidents across the country where it's just like, it didn't have to go down like this. And like, it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like, it just doesn't. I mean, the cops in other countries, I mean, at least the killing part. I mean, obviously, policing is a pretty fucked up institution generally, and the idea that we have to like enforce things with violence is a pretty stupid, dated concept that we should abandon. But even like policing as it is generally understood is orders of magnitude more horrifically violent in America, and even in Oklahoma, again, being one of the extreme ends of that. I mean, orders of magnitude, like 100 times more violent than other countries, 1,000 times more violent. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And, what are we talking about this year with Oklahoma City Police? It's like, we're going to start a mental health pilot program. We're going to put $1 million into trying to see if we can maybe respond differently. And the other thing, and here I'll pull it up, is that Whitney Bryan with Oklahoma Watch said the officer who fatally shot Daniel Hobbs has received specialized mental health training and is a member of the department's crisis intervention team.
One of the good apples.
Yeah, one of the good apples. And it's just like in any of these deals, and again, if you watch the thing, I mean, the officer escalates it quickly. The man doesn't respond, in a normative way. Like, how many of these fucking calls do you have to respond to before you maybe just approach it slightly differently? And in a non-lethal way.
So, yeah, this is connected to our conversation earlier around the racist House bill not teaching history, accurate history, to students in the state. And it relates in that this is the back end of it, right? That's the idiocy and this is the cruelty, and I'll make that connection. What this comes down to is humanity. Do you see the humanity in the people who are being murdered by the state? If you do not see the humanity in them, then you will not see or feel any reason, be compelled to act, right? In order to see the humanity in George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Aya Bryant, Sandra Bland, Terrence Crutcher, I can go on. In order to be inspired, motivated, with basic decency to act, you have to see their humanity. And history of this country dictates that you would, if you understand the history of this country. and why police exist, why black neighborhoods exist, why police officers are more likely to be in those neighborhoods than any other, why police officers are more likely to shoot at a black person than a white person under the same circumstances. You have to understand the history of this country, and then you will see that humanity. So let's not teach the history of this country. Um, so therein lies the tragedy of the age, right? And it's not those dickhead YouTubers comments. I don't put much stock into them. It's like, bro, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, stop. I mean, you have time for this.
Get a life.
Yeah, but it is really the white moderate, man. Right? It is. You wrote that great piece about Bynum. It's the Bynums, right? That's who I have to think, if we're taught history adequately, that's who would be compelled to act, right? I have to believe that. It's these moderates who say, that's sad, but what can I do? Like, yeah, I don't believe the state should be murdering people, but how am I going to impact that? And this is the best one. All of my actions with police have been positive. And this is always my response to that. Whenever someone says all of my actions, all of my interactions with police have been positive, I never question it. Never. How can I question what occurred to you, right? How you perceived your interactions with police. These are actually your lived experiences. They are valid to you. I have to respect them. Question becomes, what makes my interactions with police, my overwhelmingly negative interactions with police, what makes them less valid? And let's throw some things out there. Okay, I was born a poor black kid in Hugo, Oklahoma. So obviously, if 6 in 100 black men go to sleep in a cage, a lot more black men in the state have contact with the criminal legal system. One would say, as a kid, I had interactions with the police. But let's just say, well, Ron, it's Hugo, and crime is rampant, and the police got X, Y, and Z, whatever. There's a lot going on, whatever. I think that's bullshit, but I'll give you another one. I'm giving you my humanity right now. I was fortunate to come from abject poverty in Hugo, Oklahoma, to attend the University of Chicago Law School. It is, by all metrics, a top 5 law school. Intellectually, I chose it because it's the best law school in the world if you are a nerdy brainiac like me. If you want to really, the ongoing joke is we get hit by cars because our faces are in books. I got the best legal education in the world. Okay, I overcame all of that, and so now I'm clearly an upstanding legal citizen. I mean, I'm at the University of Chicago Law School. I'm fancy. Look at me now, right? So one would dictate. I'm no threat to anybody. That would then dictate, if policing is adequate in this country, I should, even if you, not understanding history, felt a little bit not as bad about my interactions with police as a black kid in Hugo. Well, now I'm a black law student at one of the most prestigious law schools in the world. So who am I a threat to, right? So my interactions with police should change, should they not? Well, they did not at all. They got worse. The University of Chicago Police Department is the second largest, at that time, I'm not sure if it still is, the second largest private police force in the world behind the Vatican. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out why. It sits directly adjacent to the South Side of Chicago. And the South Side of Chicago, for years, it's primarily black area. One of the blackest areas in America, has been rife with problems of drugs and violence, and gangs still is strapped with those problems. Also, housing in Chicago is some of the most segregated housing in the world. Several $1 billion was stolen, essentially, through contract housing and other unscrupulous practices from those South Side of Chicago communities. That's why they exist as they do. That's why you should understand the history. That's why you should read Making the Second Ghetto by Arnold Hirsch. But it exists as it does. And so the response of one of the best institutions in the world is to hire a huge police force. And so we would get these emails of there was an incident, a mugging, robbery, whatever incident. here in Hyde Park. I just want to let you guys know, be a diligent students. Every black student at the University of Chicago, every black male student at the University of Chicago knew the next day you had better have on a suit. You had better have on some University of Chicago apparel. You better have your ID on a keychain. You will probably be stopped. The first meeting I went to amongst other black graduate school men at the University of Chicago, the first thing that came up was policing. That was the very first thing that came up. There's a story of a guy, he was a big, large dude, but he went to U of C, right? He had to tell a story. He would hum classical music. And when he hummed classical music, police would stop him less. People would stop going across the street. But we were stopped. I was stopped several times as a student of the University of Chicago Law School. What threat was I to you then? But my question ultimately to you is that experience less valid than yours? I'm not disputing you had very positive experiences with the police. It's that experience that I've had, that experience that what we know from what happened to that gentleman was happened 4 times in 5 months in Oklahoma City, what happens constantly in this country. Those interactions lead to murder. Is my experience with police any less valid than yours? That's my only question. And if it is not, then we have a problem that we all must address.
Succinctly put. And the add-on to it would be is for someone who has worked in this space and talked to a lot of black folks, people of color, 100% of them have negative stories about the police, and some border on criminality by the police. I mean, but all of them have stories of just like, they did what to you? You know, like that went down how? And you know, and I mean, to give you the reverse side of this coin, as a white male who has been pulled over more times than I can count for traffic violations, speeding, being places I'm not supposed to be, you know, list goes on. I've never been handcuffed. I've never been asked to search my property. I've never been like, the stories you hear about people like being asked to like lay down on the ground or I need to search you or whatever it is. Or I guess you get asked to have ID and fairly customarily when driving. But the next level of escalation, never, not a single time in dozens of encounters with the police where I am presumably a suspect, you know, or otherwise incriminated in something that would involve the police. 0 times. So, I mean, let that so I don't know how white people can't reconcile that. I mean, or grasp that.
If you were taught the history of this country, putting aside police abolition, reform, whatever, criminal legal system reform, if you're a police officer, if you're a prosecutor, if you're a judge, that's overwhelmingly white populations. If they are taught the history of this country, do these things play out the way they play out? If you are taught the history of America, can you send hundreds of black men to be caged, right? If you have a basic understanding of American history, it's like, will you raise the question like, yo, why? Me and my friends, I'm not saying me, but like we know that marijuana usage, for example, is roughly equal. Like if you understand the history of this country, you understand like why drugs are even illegal, right? Are you comfortable with 95% of your marijuana arrests being black folks, right? Like, are you comfortable being told, okay, the majority of our police force is going to patrol and sit and wait and be an occupying force of this black side of town? Or do you ask the question, well, I mean, white folks drive fast too, right? All of these questions, if you understand the history of this country, then you will understand the present of this country. And will you be able to act in ways such as that lead to murder of people, right? That leads to starvation of people, that leads to the most inhumane treatment possible because we are not taught to see their humanity.